So the other day I got to pick what movie me and my husband got to watch. And it being mid-November at the time, I picked Over the Garden Wall. This was a rewatch for me and a first-time watch for my husband. He enjoyed it, but I noticed something in the very last song in the very last episode, and it was this lyric.
Loveliest lies of all.
It kind of caught me by surprise. Lies? Why are we talking about lies being lovely? What has this got to do with the bigger themes of the story? Before we go any further, hi, I'm Hannah, and this is my channel where I dissect film through a Christian theological lens. So yeah, my Christian faith will be mentioned. So if you don't want that, I don't know, click away. But now that intros are done, let's talk about autumn. In my analysis of this lyric and what it means in the context of the greater story of Over the Garden Wall, I found myself landing on the overarching theme of autumn. You see, I went back and read all of the lyrics of the song, Into the Unknown, sung by the illustrious frog of many names, to gain some context. How the gentle wind beckons through the leaves, as autumn colors fall, dancing in a swirl of golden memories, the loveliest lies of all. The lyric right before the loveliest lies line really struck me. Golden memories. It seems that loveliest lies is directly referencing these golden memories. So how is memory related to Over the Garden Wall? And the answer is actually in many different ways. There is Wirt's memory of how Sarah sees him, which is inaccurate. There is the woodsman who literally keeps a flame lit in the memory of his daughter, hoping to see her again. There is Greg's immense innocence, which colors all of his memories positively, even though they aren't always so. But none of these interpretations seem as strong to me as the interpretation of the season of autumn and what it means in the background of the show, not the foreground. See, there is a reason I prefer to watch Over the Garden Wall in November, or late autumn, because I believe that is the time of year that is most represented in the show. I would argue that the show goes through all the stages of fall, from back to school to Halloween, Thanksgiving, harvest, hibernation, all the way to the first snow of the year. But it is the subconscious highlighting of the ending of the fall, and by extension the ending of summer, that gives Over the Garden Wall its liminal feel. It's hard for us to grasp this concept in our modern lives of electric lights and 24/7 internet access, but autumn has always been a weird season for people. It is the time when light and warmth start to go away and be replaced with darkness and cold. It is a time where, traditionally, food is the most bountiful, the harvest, before being stopped entirely by winter. The hard work of the spring and summer has to be gathered quickly and made to last through the winter, so that the winter can be survived. People for many, many years have done things during these colder months to bring back light and warmth. One of the biggest examples of this is Christmas, with lights being a central theme, presenting the everlasting light of Christ and the hope of the ultimate light of eternity. The evergreen tree is to remind us of the everlasting love of God, but also the everlasting life ahead of the Christian, an eternal spring, if you will. Even before Christianity, many peoples from around the world and throughout time have recognized and celebrated the same themes, the desire for life and for spring to come again. So let's review. Autumn is the end of spring and summer. It feels liminal because light and warmth are retreating and nature is changing around us. And people, intrinsically, want to hold on to the memory of spring and summer throughout winter, while hoping for the next spring and summer. Okay, keep with me now. If we look back at the lyrics of the song, led through the mist by the milk light of moon, all that was lost is revealed, our long bygone burdens, mere echoes of the spring. If dreams can't come true, then why not pretend? How the gentle wind beckons through the leaves as autumn colors fall, dancing in a swirl of golden memories, the loveliest lies of all. Here we see that the song directly references the memory of bygone burdens as mere echoes of the spring. I find this word choice interesting, choosing to marry the idea of spring with burdens, but the more I think about it, the more I believe this is a reference to an older sentiment and way of thinking. The unknown in Over the Garden Wall represents stories from times gone by when life was different. But also this way of life wasn't that long ago. Back then, burden was seen much more as a necessity than an unwanted thing. You had to work physically every day to simply maintain life. Many people found joy in their day-to-day burdens, especially in the warmth and promise of spring when the planting season begins. But also during spring, there's fruit on the trees and flowers blooming and animals for hunting in the woods. Life gives way to more life. Life was hard and yet simple, and for many, rewarding. So saying that bygone burdens are mere echoes of the spring works in the context of late autumn, about to be winter. Life will change for the next half of the year, and burdens that might have been seen as difficult at one time could now be seen as preferable. I will also say that this can be interpreted through the lens of death. It's been said multiple times before by many others, but the entirety of Over the Garden Wall can be interpreted as a metaphor for dying, with the unknown being a sort of limbo where Wirt and Greg's spirits go while their bodies are in the river. I would say this is more of a canon interpretation. It's pretty obvious, but I'm doing something different here. This interpretation would reinterpret these lines in the song as bygone burdens equals the burdens of life, and then mere echoes of the spring would be when one was alive. And then autumn would represent the transition from life to death, yada, yada, yada. There are many, many videos already going into all of that, and I'm going to get back to focusing on a more anthropological interpretation of fall. Okay, the next 4 lines after this have me a little confused. But where have we come, and where shall we end? If dreams can't come true, then why not pretend? Where have we come, where will we end has an obvious interpretation in the they're really in purgatory camp, but I think you can also see it as the journey one goes on in their mind when they think of memories. Have you ever just sat alone in a room and looked at old pictures of yourself with family and friends? There's this weird feeling that you are looking at different people, even though it is people you know and you yourself. As we live, we change and grow. Memory can sometimes feel foreign to us because of the long road of life we have taken to get where we are now. You find yourself thinking, I was there, but now I'm here, so where will I go? This applies to those around you as well. There are friends you had when you were young that might seem like totally different people now. There are friends you have now that were strangers to your past self. Experience can be this way also. Those things that were new and scary years ago have fallen away, and newer and scarier things have taken their place. But life keeps going. We have to keep trekking through the wood, making new memories that will eventually feel strange to the future version of ourselves. Where have we come? Where will we end? Put a pin in this concept of memory not being so crystal clear. It will be important shortly. The next lines about dreams can't come true, so why not pretend really bothers me. I have to admit that I don't have a concrete interpretation other than the idea that this song is sung at the end of the series while we are seeing all of the happy endings play out, and it somehow might mean that these happy endings aren't real, but just pretend. Like, Wirt and Greg didn't actually make it out of the river, Beatrice never saved her family, and the woodsman never actually saw his daughter again, and I don't want to think about it. I really hope that isn't true, and Over the Garden Wall isn't like secretly ambiguously dark in that way. Also, this video is getting too long for what I wanted to do, and I have a final point to make. So if you have a good interpretation of this lyric and you would like to share in the comments, feel free. But otherwise, we are moving on to the point of this video and the title, which are these lyrics. How the gentle wind beckons through the leaves as autumn colors fall, dancing in a swirl of golden memories, the loveliest lies of all. Now that we've put these lyrics in context and deconstructed some of the ideas behind the meaning of autumn in the show, but also just in life, some descriptive words stick out. Autumn colors fall, dancing in a swirl of golden memories. This specifically brings to mind the image of fall leaves dancing in the wind on an autumn day. If we see a fall leaf as a golden, literally a golden hue, memory, the leaf is a memory of when it was once green in spring, then the poetic image becomes literal and metaphorical at once. Seeing the autumn leaves fall down in autumn is like experiencing fleeting memories of springs past, or simply a time when one was younger. This ties in nicely to the theme of autumn itself being a time of the year when people long to remember spring. But what about calling them lies? And not just lies, but lovely lies. Now we will come back to that pin we pinned earlier. Remember the point I made about memories sometimes feeling foreign to us, but also earlier the point of how burdens of the spring might be seen as hard at the time but desirable in winter? These two thoughts come together in this last lyric. It is almost counterintuitive, but while memory can have a foreignness to it, it's this foreignness that can lead it to be remembered incorrectly, and most of the time, mostly, more positively than originally experienced. Think about your memories of being a kid. There were plenty of times you were probably unhappy or stressed as a child, but once you grew up and had unhappier and harder experiences, you look back on childhood with rose or golden colored glasses. This is commonly called rosy retrospection. It's the tendency of humans to hold on to the good and let go of the bad when it comes to remembering events in their lives. This kind of reminds me of when Mary in the Bible is said that she treasured all these things and pondered them in her heart. We often store up and treasure the good and then ponder on it later. I would argue that most of the time this is a healthy thing. It's good to let the bad stuff go that can be let go of easily. Like your baker accidentally putting purple flowers on your wedding cake, then pink, or getting caught in the rain while out with friends, or stubbing your toe on your birthday. Just because bad things happen during good times doesn't mean you don't experience joy in those good times. Over the Garden Wall loves to ride this line all throughout by showing the good with the bad, especially with the dynamic between Greg and Wirt. Though life is hard, there's joy to be found. And in the end, it is the golden joy that gets remembered and held on to. It is always the light that is preferred over the darkness. So while some of our memories might be lies, not 100% accurate or truthful, they are lovely. Just like autumn is lovely, even though it means the end of summer for now. The leaves fall down beautifully, dancing in the cold pre-winter wind. We huddle together by the fire, warm and bright, and pray for the time of eternal spring. But in the meantime, the seasons will change. And the spring will come again, and we will have our little golden memories, the loveliest lies of all. Thank you for viewing my video essay. I do this as ministry work. I am supported directly by people who see the value in what I do for the kingdom. If you liked what you saw, please consider becoming a supporter. You can do so by clicking the link to my Giving Fuel page down in the video description. Thank you again, and God bless.